Despite significant growth in the past 2 decades, Nigeria's capital market remains underdeveloped, hindering long-term infrastructure development and efficient capital allocation. Shallowness and limited breadth constraint its ability to fuel rapid economic growth. With a market of $364 billion in 2023, achieving a $1 trillion GDP by 2030 requires an annual growth rate of 13 to 15%. While GDP rebasing provides a revised benchmark, analysts opine that the government must urgently translate campaign promises into concrete policy actions. For many, the key lies in seizing these opportunities to energize the market and drive sustainable growth. Well, joining me for more on this is Ademidun Shogo, Head Corporate Analysis at Proshare. Thank you so much for joining me today. All right, so journey to $1 trillion economy, how close are we to that?
Okay, thank you again for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. So Nigeria, let's look at the numbers first to be able to understand the contents and how far we have from it. We have because of the FX pressure, we've seen that there's been a shrink in terms of our GDP. So in 2023, it was around $364 billion. But now when the exchange rate has moved, that was when the exchange rate was around 600. Exchange rate has moved to around 1,500 at the end of 2024. So we did actually an estimate. An estimate gave us around $160 billion is now our current one. That gives us a gap of over $800+ billion to actually meet the gap between the 1 trillion economy. That's wide, and that's why it's quite larger for us to actually meet it, and we have to make sure of some projects and plans in order to actually achieve that. And that's where the rebasing comes in. The rebasing is actually going to help us capture more.
So the rebasing is more like an artificial plan or what?
It's not an artificial plan. It's helping us to capture more. So the last time it was done was in 10 years ago. So there's been a sporadic change in terms of our economy. So I can give you an instance, and let's look at the banking sector. So 10 years ago, I'm sure that there wasn't so much about digital banking. We don't have all those platforms. We don't have new banks. But now we have it bigger. We have some banks that they don't even have physical locations and they can do transactions. They are not captured. We have so many activities that has moved from all those style in which it was being done before to now. So the reweighting to the economy has transformed. So the focus has moved from 10 years ago to some new sectors. So let's look at the creative sectors too. We have, over the years, we didn't have the rapid use of data to create content. Now it's a very big economy. So we're seeing that people are using data.
Okay, so the rebasing is positive, irrespective of how large it makes our economy look at the end of the day.
Exactly. It's not like it's an overestimate. It's just it's a real value of the economy because it's helping us look at it.
So talk to us. What role will the capital markets play here?
So the capital market is actually going to play a very significant role in that, because we know the capital market, let us look at it, the definition, and what is even going to, what's the essence. The capital market is used for capital formation. So we want to grow the economy. We need capital. So there are sectors that are also not performing at their optimal. They need expansion. So capital market presents us with the opportunity to sort capital, efficiently allocate those capitals. So what are the sectors? We actually did in our report, we did a subsector, we did an extrapolation of the sectors from 46 sectors into 14 mid sectors. So the creative sector, if we have it in the capital market, it's going to receive a lot of funding, which is going to help us grow the economy. Look at the blue economy.
Where would the money come from?
So it can come from investors, domestic investors, foreign investors. It can
so
come
we have that money within, that's what we're saying.
Exactly, it's something. It's just because there's no reflection of those things in the capital market yet. So if it's being reflective, people are naturally going to be attractive to them because they have a very strong outlook. For instance, look at our health sectors. We have Nigeria's health sector. Nigeria is one of the countries that has the least waiting time when it comes to response to actually sick people, compared to all those global clients where we see them actually move to other African countries to get attended to. So there are potentials in some of these sectors, but because they are not yet reflective of the market to attract the right investors, they're going to come in when they see the potentials, when they see it being listed on the market, when we see us putting it in a place that making it more attractive to investors.
So what's stopping the listing of some of those things, if that's what you're talking about?
So I think it has to do more about the signaling, and also it has to do more about the government. So the government has to put the foot forward. So before you can actually talk to the private sector, what is the government doing? So Proshare has been advocating for assets to be listed. So like NNPC has been there for so long. Why is a percentage of it not being listed? So we have an instance of...
But we're told it's coming to the market, even though that has not happened yet.
Exactly. So what are the processes being done to ensure it listing? So we have not seen anything. It's not yet transparent enough for us that they're making progress towards listing it. And the basic example we give them is Saudi Aramco. Just 10% of it are being listed on their exchange And it wrapped up billions of dollars when they actually came to the market in 2024, when they actually needed funds. So if we can also tap into it, let the government put the foot forward, going into the market, list some of these sectors. So what are the total assets that we have? We have a slogan in Proshare that says that let Nigeria knows what he owns and what he owes. So we know our debt size, 130-something trillion as of June 2024. What is the assets that we have that we can untap liquidity from? Those are not being discussed.
So do you have an idea what's the asset? So can you put a figure to it?
So it's quite hard to put a figure to it because the MOFI is supposed to be the one to give us a balance sheet.
Ministry of Finance Incorporated?
Exactly, to give us a balance sheet of all the assets we have. Let us look at the assets, we know the liabilities. Let us have an idea of the asset that we have that we can untap. Those ones we have to outrightly sell. Those that we can just list a percentage of them, those ones that even if they are being listed, it will be more productive because when a private sector comes into a government parastatal or a public-owned sectors, it's more productive because we know how laid back the government tends to be when it comes to public sector. I'm sure you are aware about civil service, their behavior sometimes towards her. But private sector brings things to speed because you have to deliver to investors. So the mindset that you have to deliver to investors will make you want to work well and deliver results for them.
Well, they're having concerns about the capital markets being more about investment and returns and not necessarily the capital formation you talked about. Can you first, some persons will be wondering, so what's the difference? Maybe you help us first differentiate between the two and then tell us, how we can get back on track.
Okay, thank you very much for that question. So there are two objectives of the capital market. Number one is capital formation and also to give returns for people that are giving you their assets. That is actually very good, but we've moved away from actually capital formation. And the reason why we said that is because we've not had IPOs in the past couple of years. It's listing by the introduction. That means that they just bring their existing shares only to the market, not demanding for new fresh capital. That's what we've noticed in the market. And that is not enough for us to grow those sectors that we want to grow. So the sectors are somewhat they're just an exchange between different investors because it's still the same number of shares that are being listed. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
So exactly, so that is how it has been. Also, let us look at it even from the debt market itself. We've seen a lot of crowding out from the government. So government is the only one coming to the debt market. So
because of the interest rate, basically.
Exactly, it's quite high. So private sectors cannot come. The private sector can come to the market, go through commercial papers.
CPs.
And CPs are actually short-term. It's just a working capital fund you're trying to get. Those are not meant for expansion. It's just to ensure liquidity in your system. So if we can actually deviate from that, because a typical
So are we
investor,
going to say to the government, stop coming to the local debt market, or what should we say to the government? Where should the government go get its domestic funds from?
Exactly. Let us remodel the economy to stop relying on borrowings. So
that's the government should stop relying on borrowing.
Exactly. So we've been using the borrowing strategy all along, and it increases our exposure. So we've actually advertised for the use of the asset, like I said earlier.
Okay, assets.
So
we're going back
sell
to that.
some, list some, you will get funds.
And will that be enough? How sustainable will that be? I mean, isn't it going to be the case of maybe after 10 years, 15 years, it may not even take us up to that. We come back to, full cycle.
So we have, when you're listing it, it's going to be on the exchange for a long time. The funding you are getting is to actually incentivize other sectors to grow. So it's not that you are taking it and using and embezzling it. It's just for projects. What are the enablers? So infrastructural projects we have a very large infrastructural deficit in Nigeria. What are being done in order to smoothen it out, to reduce the weight, because with the right infrastructure, the private sectors can now grow. But because of that large deficit, it's quite hard for the private sector to leverage that because energy cost is so much. We've seen it in their financial statement. It's impacting them so much in terms of their FX exposures are large. We have slimming bottom line earnings. So those are the things, if they are being put in place, it's going to be very easy for the private sector to actually grow. Talking
about government, I've heard it being said that maybe the government should start or prioritize investment, not investment now, infrastructure, maybe borrowings that are tied to infrastructure, maybe sukuk and stuff like that. What do you have to say about that in 30 seconds?
Yes, I will really advocate for that. Proshare actually advocate for that. But the problem is that what I've noticed so far with the use of sukuk is that it's being used to repair already existing roads. That is
not just sukuk. I just give that example.
Exactly. So the sukuk should be used to actually start new roads. Then those roads should be tarred in order to pay back those money. So that way we're seeing a progression, not that we're using it to actually repair previously made roads. Why were the roads not being done very well previously? So that we don't have to recurrently repair. So there's the frequency of repair in Nigeria when it comes to road infrastructure is quite high. Why? Is it because of the disbursement? What are the people that we are giving this project? How are they doing it? Those are the questions we need to do. So there needs to be an analysis of the quality of the people we are giving the project to. Are they micromanaging it not to do the right thing in terms of giving us a quality road? I think it's not a chain of looking at it as in terms of money alone being allocated. The people that are doing it, are they doing the right job so that we don't have the frequency of doing repairs as much as we do currently?
Ademidun, I'm afraid I have to let you go now. In 30 seconds, just clearly tell us, succinctly, how the capital markets can help us, in raising this money we're talking about, in growing the economy rather.
Yes, the capital market is in the right position to help us. We have we have the listing of these assets from the government side that we've actually talked about before. When we see them actually come to the market, the private sectors will be intensified. Like, wow, if the government can make this amount of money from using a portion of their assets, then definitely we can come to the market and take advantage of it.
Okay,
too.
So we have more businesses coming, but we need the government to take the first step.
And it will signal the foreign investors. So the foreign investors have to have an idea of the valuation of some of these sectors before they can come in.
Seconds. I need to go. Thank you so much, Ademidun, for coming on the show today.
Thank you very much.